Hello everybody, welcome back to Josie Violet Knit and Happy New Year. We are here with the first knitting podcast of 2026. I have been doing quite a bit of knitting over the festive break. I had quite a bit of time after kind of the madness of Christmas was all over. I had quite a bit of time in that weird bit in between Christmas and New Year where I've casted on quite a lot of things that have been waiting to be casted on for a long time, and I'm very excited to share them all with you today. I do also have a finished object, which is what I'm currently wearing. If you have seen my What I Knit in 2025 video, you might have seen this at the very end, but I kind of wanted to spend a bit more time talking about the project now that it's all wrapped up. So let's get into my port jacket and then we can go into all of the whips that I have sitting next to me. So this is my port jacket. I knit this in Issachar Aran tweed in the shade Confetti. I started knitting this in the end of April 2025 and I finished it just in time for Christmas. So I actually felt like this was kind of my Christmas quote unquote sweater, even though it's not really a Christmas sweater, it's just like a grey cardigan. But I think something to do with the colourful flecks in it was making me feel like it was a bit festive. And I kind of just wanted a new thing to be wearing around Christmas. So I was definitely wearing this a lot over the festive period. This took me a long time from cast on to finishing, but realistically, I don't think the actual length of time that I spent knitting on it was very long. The only real reason it took me so long was that I was putting it down, picking it back up, and I had lots of other whips going on at the same time. So I think if I had just knit on this monogamously, it would have been a really, really quick knit. It's knit on 5mm needles, and I actually had an issue with the row gauge that meant that it grew lengthways faster than it should have done, which was kind of annoying when I was knitting it, just for like making sure that I had the pattern correct. But in another way, it was kind of nice because it meant that I was actually knitting this whole thing faster than I should have been doing. So that meant I did actually have a few weird things with the sleeves where I couldn't fit in as many decreases as the pattern was saying because I was getting to the length faster than I should have been doing, which to be honest worked out okay. Like I actually, because it's a jacket that I actually am sort of wearing as a jacket with things underneath it, it kind of works out well that it's a little bit wider than my typical sleeve. Then I can fit other things under it, and I've actually been wearing this with my other knitted sweaters underneath and then kind of just wearing this as a jacket as it is intended to be worn, which is quite nice because I think I kind of assumed that I'd only just be able to wear it sort of as a cardigan with things over the top, but there's been a few days here in the UK when it's been just about warm enough that I can get away with this and a jumper underneath and then not having to wear a coat, which has been quite nice because obviously once you've got your finished object you want to show it off. So it's been nice to be able to wear this outside without a coat. I have been wearing this a lot since I finished it. It has maybe just a tiny bit pilled on the arms, but to be honest, it's really not that noticeable, and it's not like massive balls of pilling or anything. It's just like slightly getting a bit fuzzy, but it really isn't that bad at the moment, and I have been wearing this almost non-stop since I finished it, which was about a month ago now. So I feel like it's holding up pretty well. So this is the first button band that I've ever finished, and I definitely have kind of got my head around the concept of a button band, and I feel like I was following the pattern, but I feel like maybe when I do the top button up, there's just this ever so slight sort of bowing here, and I don't know if maybe it's just that it's not fully lining up properly on this very top button. And that just slightly annoys me, and I feel like I don't know if I'm just being a perfectionist or if this is actually something that I've done wrong, but it's not noticeable unless I have the top button done up. I actually do like wearing it with the top button done up, so yeah, I don't know, is this noticeable? Is this like a clear mistake, or is this just me being overly obsessive over this? I don't know, but yeah, it's not the worst. Like, it's definitely still wearable and fine. I think I'm just probably overthinking it because it is my first button band. I don't necessarily love knitting button bands. I find them quite boring and quite long. Currently halfway through a button band on my Maggie cardigan on 2.5mm needles, and it's really made me realise that I don't like knitting button bands. They are just long, and it's like you've done all that work and then you have to do this quite fiddly sort of like you can't really settle into that flow state with them because they're so short. You get to the end, then you have to turn it, and then you go across, and then you can't really get into that flow state, I find, anyway. So next time I knit a cardigan, I think I'm going to try and find one that has the button band sort of knitted as you go, which one of the whips I'm doing currently has that feature, so I'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, this is all just to say I don't know if I love button bands, but maybe since this is my first cardigan, maybe I was just overthinking it a bit, and maybe it won't be as bad moving forward. I'm not sure. There are quite a few cool features in this cardigan that I was really impressed with the design of. One of them being there are short rows in the collar, which means that the back of the collar is higher than the front, so it kind of goes down like this. So there's more fabric up at the back than there is at the front, which means that it just fits really nicely on the neck. I think if it didn't have that, it would maybe feel a bit suffocating, and I have this thing where I just need a bit of neck to be showing on my collars, otherwise I feel like I'm a floating head. So I really appreciated the fact that there were short rows in this cardigan to allow for that just little bit of space around your neck, which I feel like I need, and it has made it feel very, very comfortable and just really, really nice to wear. It just feels like it fits really well. The other smart thing with this, there are some short rows around the sleeves here where you pick up, after this ribbing section, you pick up for the sleeves quite far down the arm. And there's some short rows here, which just means that there's less fabric under this arm here, because this is quite a baggy drop shoulder, but I think having those short rows just means that it kind of sits quite nicely on the body and doesn't feel like it can be more oversized without feeling like there's too much fabric in the way. So I thought that was really smart as well. And then there's also this really nice rib feature around here, which is quite simple. I mean, there's not too much design features really on this cardigan, but this little bit of ribbing here just makes the pattern a little bit more unique. And the reason I picked this pattern for this yarn was I did want something quite simple and something that would just allow the yarn to shine by itself, and I think I definitely achieved that with this combination of pattern and yarn. And yeah, I'm just really happy with this. I've been wearing it so much. I kind of don't have that many cardigans in my wardrobe, so it's been really nice to just have a cardigan. Like, it is so versatile. You can kind of show your t-shirts underneath, or you can just wear it fully buttoned up, or you can have it unbuttoned. There's just a wider range of ways to wear it, and also it stops you, if you get a bit overheated, you can just unbutton it and you kind of cool down, which obviously you can't do when you're wearing a sweater. So it sounds sort of obvious, but it just means that I have a bit more of a versatile piece of clothing in my wardrobe, which is always nice. So that is my port jacket. So let's get on to my whips. I have 4 to show you, 3 of which you have never seen before because I cast them on since the last time I made a knitting podcast. So the first one is, I'm very excited about this one. This is my Wavelength Cardigan by Be Creative Knits. I am test knitting this, so this pattern isn't out yet. And I am currently just on the first part of this pattern. I've nearly finished. So I have finished the back yoke increases, and now I'm just knitting down a little bit further, and then I will be picking up on the left shoulder and then picking up on the right shoulder. And then I think after that you join where the armholes are, and then you just knit continuously back and forwards, and then you've just got to add the collar and the sleeves. And as I was saying before about button bands, I love this pattern because the button band is knitted as you go. I haven't quite got to that part yet, but I'm very excited not to have to do a button band, because as you can see, this pattern has a lot of cabling on it. Every other row is a cable row, and these are 3-stitch cables, so I am able to do these without a cable needle, which has been nice. It just means that it's a bit easier to get into that flow, and you don't have that annoying thing where you are like, where did my cable needle go? When I was knitting my waffle loop sweater dress, I just had this annoying thing every like 10 minutes where I would just lose my cable needle, and then I'd have to get another one, and then I'd find it, and then I'd poke myself with it because I'd be sitting on it. So it's quite nice not to have to use a cable needle for this, and I've been looking up the best ways to knit these types of cables without a cable needle. There's a few different methods, but I think I've found the ones that work for me. I have been having a few issues with the left leaning cable on this. I feel like all of the rest of the pattern looks fine, and then when I get to the left leaning ones, they're just a little bit messy. And that has been happening consistently enough now that I think I'm going to maybe try and just do those ones with a cable needle and see if that helps. I'm still on the back, so I feel like I have a bit of time to experiment with the exact way of doing this that is going to work for me, because I'm not going to be looking at the back, so I don't mind if there's not the neatest cables in the world there. Hopefully by the time I get to the front, I will have figured out the ideal way to knit these cables. But overall, I am loving this pattern so far. It's very simple. You just follow a chart, and I think I am quite a chart person. I know some people prefer to read the instructions, but I think for my brain, I'm a very visual person and very visual learner, and I think just having the visual chart in front of me is how my brain likes to work. So this has been quite a breeze. There's been a few times when I've been thinking I was on the wrong side and getting confused, and then realizing I was supposed to be on the other side, but that hasn't happened too much. So I have in general just been sort of flowing through this wavelength cardigan, and it's really satisfying to just see the waves appearing, and I just keep going like this. Like, it just feels so nice, and even the back looks really cool, and I'm just so excited to keep going on this. The yarn I'm using for this is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the shade Dusty Artichoke. This is the recommended yarn for the pattern, and I do like this yarn, but I would say I have been finding it a tiny bit splitty, which I don't think I've heard many people mention before. Obviously, Knitting for Olive yarn is amazing. It has such a great colour range, and I think most of their yarns that I've tried have been great. I'm just finding this one a little bit splitty, and I don't think I would notice if I wasn't doing cables, but there's been a few times when I'm trying to cross the cables across and it's just gotten a bit splitty and just gotten a bit caught, and it's a bit annoying. And so I don't know if this is necessarily the best yarn for doing cables, in my opinion. I don't know if this is just a user error, since this is my second garment I've ever made that is cabled. So that could just be my own personal issue, but I have just been finding it a tiny bit splitty when it comes to cables, but the rest of the time it's completely fine. It is definitely soft. I wouldn't say it's the softest merino I've ever felt, but hopefully that means that it won't pill as much, as I have heard that this is a very hard wearing yarn, which is good because I'm putting in all this effort with these cables and I want it to last. So I will sacrifice a little bit of softness if it means that this garment is not going to pill. So that is my wavelength cardigan. As I said, it's in a test knit at the moment, so the pattern is not available quite yet, but I believe it will be coming out sometime early 2026, so keep your eyes peeled. It's a great pattern and it's very, very smart. It's got a cable that flows from the top of the shoulder down into the sleeve, so I'm very excited to get to that part. It's going to be so satisfying. An amazing design from Bee, and I'm very excited to have this one finished. And again, I'll have another cardigan in my wardrobe, which I'm very excited about. The next project I've been working on, finally, I have cast on my first sock. I've been talking about casting on a sock for months. For some reason, I had the fear of knitting a sock. I don't know why. I just had this fear of, like, I don't know, it's so small, and I just felt worried. And then I think I just had the brain space over the holidays where I wasn't working, and I was just able to finally focus on knitting. And I am kind of through the difficult part now. I've done the heel flap and the short rows, and I've picked up, and I'm going now just into the foot of the sock. I'm still like learning all the terms of sock knitting. There's so many things like heel flap and gusset and all of this stuff, and I'm still kind of getting to learn all of these terms. But this sock is the Petal Drop Socks by Florence Miller, and they are top down, so they start with this twisted rib at the top, and then there's this really pretty lace pattern. It looks quite complex, but honestly I found it quite simple. I didn't find this too difficult at all. It was just sort of getting used to the repeats, and then once you get your head around it, it's honestly not that bad, but it looks really sort of complicated and cool. Then you get to the heel flap and you knit that separately for a little bit, then you pick up along the side of the heel flap and then continue knitting, and then at that point you have half of the sock as stockinette, and then you continue the lace pattern along the top of the foot, which is nice because I think if I had this lace pattern on the bottom of my foot, I think it would feel a bit like I don't really love lots of texture under my foot, so I think it's nice that it's just plain stockinette at the bottom. I have decided, now this is a whole thing, I think this is one of the things that's kind of put me off starting sock knitting, is choosing what variety or what method of sock knitting I wanted to do, because there's so many ways. You know, you could use all DPNs, you can use magic loop, or you can use small circulars, and I think I have settled on a kind of combination of small circulars and DPNs. Now I haven't got to the end of the foot, so I might have to maybe add magic loop into that mix as well. So I now have small circulars in 2.25 mils and 2.5 mils, and I also have DPNs in that size as well. I was just like, I'm going to treat myself to some tools to make these socks, because I think that was partly what was holding me back, is I just didn't have the right materials available to actually be able to knit these socks. So now I have that, and I'm like, something has clicked in my brain, and I'm like, I can knit socks now. So all I have left to do is just finish the rest of the toe and then do the decreases, and then I would have finished my first sock. And then obviously the whole thing with socks is you have to do the second one. So we will see how quickly I actually get to that. But it's been really nice to have a smaller project, because all of the other projects I feel like I've ever done have been pretty chunky. Apart from a few hats, I've mainly knit garments, cardigans and sweaters. So it's been really nice to just have something that's literally so small. I can just wrap it up in my bag and just take it with me. I've been taking it with me to my parents' house, or taking it on the train or in the car, and it's just, you know, you can just sort of sit there and knit away, but it's not too in your face or in the way, and it's really nice to just have that option. I also have it beside my bed so that I can just quickly knit a few rounds before I go to bed, which has been really, really nice, because sometimes I don't feel like hauling all of my big garments into bed and then having it sit by my bedside, but just having this on my bedside table has just been really nice. I've just been finding that instead of taking away from my other projects, it's just meant that I am able to knit, I guess, in more times throughout my day. So I feel like this has come along pretty quickly without kind of sacrificing my other projects, which has been really nice, because I think for a while I also thought, like, why would I want to knit a sock when I could knit a jumper, which is way more fun and exciting. But actually I've just been finding that I've been finding that I can kind of fit this into my day alongside my other projects, which has been a really nice thing to learn, because I would love to have a lot more knitted socks in my wardrobe, and I feel like 2026 is going to be the year that hopefully I get my head around socks properly, and I'm so excited to have them finished. And I would just say again, thank you so much, Florence Miller. I started knitting with the step-by-step sweater, and she taught me so much in that project, and again I feel like she has just held my hand through this process and made me not scared of knitting socks. So thank you, Florence. If you happen to be watching this, I really, really appreciate that you put all these tutorials online, because it has really helped my confidence. The yarn I'm using for this is Jowl, I think that's how you say it, the superwash yarn. I'll put the colour on the screen. I think it's just like the sort of creamy white colour. And I bought this a while ago because I have been meaning to knit socks for a while. So it's just been really nice to get this going. No, nothing really to say about this yarn. It just feels, I mean, it's not splitty, and I haven't been having any issues with it, to be honest, because I haven't knit socks before. I don't know how most sock yarns feel, but it's been really good so far, and I haven't used that much of the ball when I'm already this much through the sock. So top marks for this yarn. And finally, the project that's probably been sitting on my shelf for the longest time. I'm so happy that I finally cast it on, and this is my super basic tee by Oh What a Knit. I'm knitting this in Albertine by Durarum Natura. This yarn, I am such a big fan of this company, because Gilead from Durarum Natura was my favourite yarn of last year, and we're not very far into the year, but I think this is shaping up to be my favourite yarn so far. This is 90% wool and 10% silk, and it is fingering weight yarn for roughly 3mm needles. It's on the colour Avion, which is kind of a pinky beigey cream. I would say it's kind of a pinky beige, and I am just so obsessed with knitting this. There is just something about, I can't explain what it is, but just knitting with this yarn is so addictive. It's very springy and elastic in a very satisfying way, and it's just making the most beautiful fabric. This is knit on 3mm needles, so this is going to take me a long time. This is going to be one of those projects that I pull out when I just need something a bit mindless and it's just stockinette and I just want to knit for a long time and not think too hard. This is going to be that project for me this year. I'm hoping that I get it finished kind of for spring or summer, because it is a t-shirt, so it would be really nice to have it for then. It is, I mean, I think this is going to be still kind of a warm-ish t-shirt because it is wool, mainly wool with a tiny bit of silk. So I don't think this will be one that I'll be wearing in like the hottest parts of summer or anything, but I think it will be a really nice thing to have for transition in between sort of spring and summer, where you want to wear a t-shirt but maybe it's not quite warm enough to be wearing like a vest top or whatever, and you just want something that is a little bit warm but then not too warm and maybe you can wear without a coat. That's kind of my vision for that. It's going to be quite oversized if all goes to plan, and I want kind of just a big baggy plain white t-shirt. I want the knitted equivalent of the perfect white t-shirt, and I'm hoping that that is what this is going to be. Obviously it's not completely white, it is a bit pink, but I kind of like that. It's just something a little bit more interesting than your basic white. This is just one of those ones where I'm just loving the process so much that I'm not even thinking about the end product as much. I'm just obsessed with how it feels, and it's just so satisfying to knit. And I'm so excited to continue with this one. So this is going to be one that I'm probably going to be working on for quite a while, so bear with me, but I thought I'd show you anyway because I am just loving how it is knitting up. And I think just having that plain stockinette project, because I'm doing quite a few other things with like cables, and I've got a few more complex colour work projects that I want to do also this year. I think just having this one sort of plain stockinette project is going to be really nice just for a bit of a brain break, and I'll be able to take it to my knitting club, and it'll just be something a little bit more simple that I can do without having to use too much brain energy, because some of these other projects are going to be using quite a lot of brain energy. So yeah, I'm so excited about this one. And of course it wouldn't be a Josie Violet knitting podcast without an update on my Maggie cardigan, which I am still knitting, and I thought I'd have finished it by the end of the year, but I just couldn't be bothered because I decided I hate knitting button bands. So I have knit one side of the button band. I have done a double knit button band. Look at that. It has buttonholes and everything. So this is the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit. I'm knitting it in Cardiff Cashmere Classic. You've probably seen me talk about this before if you've watched my episodes before. I am modifying this pattern quite a bit. I am doing a double knit button band, and I am doing a folded hem on the bottom of the hem and the sleeves. I wanted to do that because I am actually trying to recreate a cardigan of mine that felted and sadly died a death with a massive hole in it. So I decided I want to recreate my old cardigan. And this is just one of those projects that is taking its time, but that's okay. I'm going to get there. I have this much of the second button band to do. Then I just have to do the collar. I have to finish one sleeve, which I've almost finished, and then do one more sleeve, and then I'll be done. And that's all I'm going to say on that, because you're probably sick of hearing me talking about this project, but it is slowly progressing, and I'm hoping I'll get there soon. But I just wanted to update you. It is still happening. It is still going, just not very fast. Those are all my whips. I have been on a yarn buying ban, so there are no yarn acquisitions, unfortunately. The only thing I wanted to just quickly mention was I have been on the hunt for just like fabric drawstring bags, project bags. I didn't want zips. I didn't want anything too complicated. Up until now, I've just been using those organza bags that I get from Wool Warehouse when I do an order, but they get a bit funny after a while. They're not very good quality. They're not really designed for like long-term storage of projects. So I wanted to get something a bit nicer. If I could sew, or if I had a sewing machine, I would be able to just make these myself. But while I don't have a sewing machine, I wanted to just mention, if you have a Soston Green near you, they have really cute bags. I got all of these for pretty affordable price. So I have this one, which is more of a, I guess, a traditional tote bag, but it does have a drawstring on it. So I put my sort of bigger projects, I was carrying this one around in it when it was in sort of the later stages, because it's quite a bit bigger, which is nice. And then it has like a little handle, so you can kind of just use it as a bag as well, like a tote bag. Then I have this one, which is just more of a simple drawstring bag, like nothing special, but honestly it's just so nice to have like a proper bag that you can close properly and just shove in another bag if you're taking it around. And then I have this one, which is quilted, and it has a little pocket inside as well, which is nice for just storing whatever sort of things you carry around with your project. And again, this one is drawstring, so I've been carrying my Maggie cardigan around in this one. And yeah, it's just been nice to have some project bags that actually look cute and that I can sort of have around, and I kind of assign a different project to a different bag, so I feel like I'm a bit more organised with my whips and I know what whip is in what bag, and that has just been kind of helping me kind of feel a bit less chaotic, because sometimes I just have all my whips lying all around the house and it can get a bit messy. So that's been really nice. So if you have a Sustin Grin, I think that's how you say it, near you, they have them in the UK. I think they have them in some places in Europe, but I literally have one a few minutes walk from my house, so I'm in there quite a lot. And when I found those bags, I was quite happy, because I've just been looking for some kind of affordable project bags. I know that you can get these really, really fancy ones that cost a lot, but I just don't want to spend a lot of money on something that is essentially a bit of fabric with a drawstring. So yeah, if you've been looking for project bags and you live near a Sustin Grin, I would say go check it out. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, as always, what you are knitting on at the moment. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. I think 70% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!